Hey guys, Luke on Sean's channel. Today I'm really excited to bring you guys a new deck. This is my version of Umi Control. I really like Umi Control. I think it's a pretty decent deck that anyone can really pick up if they're starting Yu-Gi-Oh! Or even if they just want to try something a little bit different, a little bit new. The way I build this deck is a little bit different. Not only do you have the basic Umi Control sort of cards that are in this, but I also got really into the idea of messing around with this build with also the Armor Xyz cards as well. So without further ado, this is just my build of Umi Control. Starting things off, we have 3 copies of Ocean Dragonlord Kairyu-Shin. This card itself can be very crippling to your opponent, especially if you're pairing it with a legendary Ocean. Kairyu-Shin, of course, is level 5, but with a legendary Ocean is face up on the field, what it does is that it can lower the level of all water monsters on the field and in your hand by 1. So what you're able to do is normal summon Kairyu-Shin, and then his effect instantly activates. That he has, while Umi is face up on the field, each player can only control one face up non-water monster. So if you're going second, for example, and your opponent has a big board full of all different attributes, what you can do is activate a legendary Ocean, normal summon Kairyu-Shin, and then you can pretty much just wipe a lot of the monsters away right there and then. But that's not the only purpose of Kairyu-Shin. Kairyu-Shin is also very powerful because during your main phase, you can add from your deck to your hand one Umi, one Kairyu-Shin spell or trap, or one C-Style spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which of course is really good and consistent for getting deeper and deeper into your deck. So I definitely recommend you maximize this at 3 copies. Next up, we have 3 copies of Electric Jellyfish. Besides Kairyu-Shin, this is probably the most important monster of the build. I just find Electric Jellyfish to be an absolute powerhouse, especially as a starter. So what it does has the effect that you can send Umi from your hand, deck, or face on the field to the graveyard to special summon one water monster from your hand. He also works as kind of an omni-negate because when your opponent activates a monster effect or spell or trap effect while Umi is faced on the field, you can quick effect negate the effect and then make this card gain 600 attack, which of course is just really good omni-negate. There's a lot of ways for us to get Umi on the field straight away, and of course Electric Jellyfish having a being very easy to bring out as well means that we get really quick access to an omni-negate, which of course is just really good for the build. So 3 copies of Electric Jellyfish, absolutely essential. 3 copies of Abyss Shark. Abyss Shark I find to be really good. I really like how this synergizes with the deck. It's not just for sharks, it can work in pretty much any water deck at all. So Abyss Shark has the effect that if it's used for an XZ summon of a number monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or a level 4 monster as well. And we run a good few number XZ monster in the build, including number 4 and number 47. He can be brought out very easily, that you can special summon this card if all monsters you control are water monsters. And if Abyss Shark is successfully summoned this way, you can add one level 3, 4, or 5 fish monster from your deck to your hand, except for Abyss Shark, which of course is really good to get into your other sharks that we run this build, which can also be very easily summoned as well. So going for your rank plays is of course no problem at all. 3 copies of Abyss Shark I find to be very essential. 1 Crystal Shark, another shark that we have in our collection. Of course this can be searched off of Abyss Shark, so I definitely recommend you run it. He also has the same effect as Abyss Shark, that if it's used for an XZ summon of a number monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or a level 4. He's also very easy to bring out because if this card is in your hand or your graveyard, you can target one water monster on the field, half its attack, and also bring this monster out, which of course is just really good, very easy to get him out. I also run 1 copy of Dream Shark, another fish that we're able to search over Abyss Shark as well. Very easy to bring out. He's not as strong as the other sharks in this build, so it's not essential to run any more than just 1 copy. And I also like to run 1 copy of Doom Kraken. Doom Kraken says if Umi is on the field, you can quick effect target 1 water monster you control except for Doom Kraken and 1 monster your opponent controls. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, return the monster you control to the hand. And if you do that, destroy the opponent's monster. So if your opponent is planning on imperming or monster effect or whatever, Doom Kraken is a really good way of interruption that we can bounce that monster back to our hand in order to not let that imperm go through. But not only that, it's also a good pop as well. So Doom Kraken, not essential to run 3 copies, but I definitely recommend running it at least 1. I also like 1 copy of Mega Fortress Whale. Mega Fortress Whale is pretty good. If Umi is faced on the field, you can activate his effects that your water monsters can attack directly this turn, which is really good if you're kind of stuck for time or you're going for a game that you're able to attack your opponent's life points directly. It also has the effect that during your opponent's battle phase, quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, destroy it. If this card in the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can either add to your hand or special summon 1 water warrior monster from your deck or your graveyard, which of course is really really good because we have a few water warriors in their extra deck that if they're in the graveyard at the time that this effect pops off, you're able to just bring them back out. Those water warriors I'm talking about is of course the Xyz Armor monsters. So one copy of Mega Fortress Duel I find to be really good for the build. A pretty good extender I like to run is Icejade Tremora. She has the effect that you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and special summon one water monster from your hand, which of course is just really good at spamming the board in order to go for Xyz plays. So Icejade Tremora is just really good as having a good extender. So I definitely recommend running her at 1. One copy of Maiden of the Aqua. It might seem a bit unusual to run this, but I've actually been experimenting a lot with different builds and been looking at other builds that people have been playing. And Maiden of Aqua is really good for a particular combo that I definitely think it's essential to run at 1 copy in this build. Fun little floodgate, because why not? Barrier Statue Torrent I think to be very good to run in this build. This card alone can absolutely cripple your opponent. I definitely recommend it. For one normal monster, we run Terrorking Salmon. This deck is actually very rewarding if you play a normal monster in the build. There's a few cards that really benefit you if you're running vanilla in the deck. For example, Fish Sonar and Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef are just 2 cards that have additional effects if you run the vanilla. So 1 copy of Terrorking Salmon I find to be very essential. Rounding off the monster, you only have 1 monster hand trap in this build, and that is Droll and Lockbird. Considering it's fire format, that's why I don't main deck Ash Blossom, but this can be sided out depending on what your matchup is or even what format you're going to be playing. But I think Droll and Lockbird is definitely really good this format. The fact that it has a good lingering effect is really great because with the likes of Ash Blossom and Ghost Bell and things like that, they only stop the one thing from happening, whereas Droll and Lockbird is an added little bit of pressure that can really suppress your opponent. So 3 copies of it in the main deck. Going into the spells now, 3 copies of Fish Sonar. With this card you can add 1 level 7 or lower monster from your deck to your hand that mentions Umi or is a water normal monster, and then if Umi is on the field you can special summon 1 water normal monster from your deck, which of course is just really good. It's the reason we run Terrorking Salmon. And pretty much a good chunk of our monsters mention Umi, so Fish Sonar is a good way to access pretty much most of the deck. So 3 copies of it, absolutely essential. 3 copies of the namesake of the deck. This is Umi, or as the text says, a Legendary Ocean. Legendary Ocean's card's name is always treated as Umi, so that's why the deck is known as Umi Control. A lot of cards are built around this one card in particular. There's so many different Umis, but considering you can only run 3 copies of a card that's always treated as Umi, we opt to go for 3 copies of Legendary Ocean because it's just essentially the best one. Legendary Ocean has the effect that I mentioned earlier with your Kairyu-Shin, that it reduces all water monsters in both players' hands and on the field by 1, so it's really easy for us to just normal summon our Kairyu-Shin straight up. But not only that, it also has a nice little attack boost of 200 for all the water monsters on the field, which could come up pretty good. We always want to see Umi on the field, so absolutely maximize how many copies you can run of this. It's absolutely essential to max out. I can't recommend it enough. 1 copy of Sea Stealth 2. This is a continuous spell and it becomes Umi while it's face up on the field or in the graveyard. Your opponent cannot target water monsters you control with non-water monster effects. At the start of the battle phase, you can special summon from your hand or graveyard 1 monster that mentions Umi or 1 water normal monster in defense position, but destroy it at the end of the battle phase, which is really good at kind of walling up and protecting yourself during the battle phase. So I definitely recommend running this card at 1. Not only is that really good, but also the fact that its name becomes Umi while it's on the field or in the graveyard is just really good for getting your effects to pop off. So definitely recommend 1 copy of Sea Stealth 2. 1 copy of Armored Xyz. This is the one Armored Xyz spell that we run. We only need 1 copy. It would be very pointless to run any more than that. It has the effect that target 1 face-up monster you control and 1 Xyz monster in your graveyard. Equip that monster from your graveyard to that monster on the field as an equip spell with these effects. 1. Change the equipped monster's attack to this card's attack. 2. The equipped monster gains this card's attribute. And 3. At the end of the damage step, if the equipped monster attacked, you can send this card to the graveyard. That attacking monster can make a 2nd attack in a row, which of course is really good, can definitely round off games. I can't recommend it enough. This package works so well in this deck, I highly recommend you guys try it out. 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Prosperity is just really good at getting us deeper and deeper into the deck. I definitely recommend this as the best pot card for the build. I wouldn't be running any Extravagance or Desires just because we have too many cards we run at 1 that we can't really risk losing them. So Prosperity is definitely the best pot card to be running in this build. Also like to run 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial Goods is pretty much here just because we're able to send our Ice Barrier from our deck to the graveyard in order to get a search off it, which is just a really good way of also deck thinning too, so 2 copies I find to be absolutely essential. Rounding things off with the traps, we have 2 copies of Sea Stealth Attack. This of course can easily be searched off of a Kairyu-Shin, so I don't think it's necessary to run it at 3 copies. I think 2 is more than enough. When this card is activated, you can activate 1 Umi from your hand or graveyard directly, and while Umi is face up on the field, this card gains these effects. Once per turn, you can banish 1 water monster you control until the end phase of this turn. Face-up spells such traps you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, even if this card leaves the field, which of course is just really good. A great protection against the likes of Lightning Storm or Harpy Spider Duster. And also at the start of a damage step, if a water monster whose original level is 5 or higher battles an opponent's monster, you can just destroy that opponent's monster, which I find just be really good. So 2 copies of Sea Stealth Attack. 2 copies of the previously mentioned Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier's primary effect: when an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, you can change that opponent's monster attack to 0. It negates effects. Also, it cannot change the battle position. It is very good, but most of the time Ice Barrier is even better when we're able to dump it into the graveyard in order to get the effect that you can banish this card from the graveyard, send 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to the graveyard, then you can add 1 water monster from your graveyard to your hand, which is just absolutely insane. It can get us a lot of monsters in the deck. I highly recommend the Ice Barrier. 1 copy of Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef. We can search this off for Kairyu-Shin itself. Has the effect that you can send 1 face-up Umi you control to the graveyard, special summon up to 2 monsters with different names from your hand and or deck that mention Umi or water normal monsters in defense position. Then if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon any number of your level 6 or lower water normal monsters from your hand and or deck until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, which I find to be really good. It's a good way to spam the board a little bit, and this is the main reason of a card why we run Maiden of the Aqua, because in order to get this effect to pop off, we need to send an Umi we control to the graveyard. But if we bring out Maiden off this effect, Maiden has the effect that if there's no face-up field spell, the field is treated as Umi. So of course I definitely recommend running this at 1 copy along with the Maiden. 1 copy of Full-Armored Xyz. If an Xyz monster is on the field, immediately after this effect resolves, you can Xyz summon 1 Xyz monster using monsters you control. You can banish this card from the graveyard and target 1 Xyz monsters you control, equip 1 other Xyz monsters from your face-up, field, or graveyard to the monster as an equip spell with the following effects. The equipped monster gains attack equal to this card's attack, and also if the equipped monster will be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can destroy this card instead. You can even send this off of Foolish Burial Goods if you want to use a secondary effect rather than the first. All round, I think the Armored Xyz package is just really good and really powerful in this deck. So definitely run 1 copy of this card. And finally, rounding off the main deck, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. We run 1 copy of number 4 Stealth Dragon. While he's face up on the field, all face-up monsters on the field become water monsters. And once per turn during the main phase, you can quick effect destroy 1 water monster that your opponent controls. And if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that attack of that monster on the field, which is pretty good. But he also has a kind of a lingering effect that if this Xyz summoned card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 Stealth Kraken spawn from your extra deck up to the number of materials this card had. Then you can attach up to 1 water monster from your graveyard to each of those special summoned monsters as material. Now I run 1 copy of Stealth Kraken spawn. It is possible that you can special summon 2 of them off of this effect, but I find that the extra deck is really tight, so I only like to run the 1 just for room reasons and things like that. But I do think that it's still a pretty good package. Stealth Kraken spawn has the effect that once per turn during the main phase, you can destroy 1 water monster that your opponent controls. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a number of Xyz monsters destroyed, you can special summon another Stealth Kraken monster from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had. Then you can attach up to 1 water monster from your graveyard to each of those special summon monsters. So this is just a really nice package that they're able to kind of like go into each other and kind of tag out. So I find 1 copy of Stealth Kraken and 1 copy of Stealth Kraken spawn I find to be very essential for this build. The other number Xyz monster that we run is number 47 Nightmare Shark. Nightmare Shark is a rank 3, and I mostly run him just because we want to close out games, or if we're running for time and we want to just inflict damage to our opponents as quickly as possible. Nightmare Shark has the effect that you can attach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target 1 water monster you control. This turn, that monster can attack your opponent directly, but other monsters can't attack, which is absolutely fine. I just find if we're really tight for time, number 47 Nightmare Shark can really close out games in that sense. Another cool little Xyz package you run is 1 copy of Bahamut and 1 copy of Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome is an insane card in itself, and the fact that we're able to go into it off the effect of Bahamut I find to be really good. Of course, we can't do any rank 2 plays to go directly into Totally Awesome. We have to go through the Bahamut Shark. But I don't find that matters too much. Totally Awesome is just too good to pass up on. I definitely recommend running these two as a small low package as well. One copy of Xyz Armor Torpedo. This is the rank 3. What this does is you can detach 2 materials from this card, then you can draw 1 card, which of course is just really good at getting deeper and deeper into the deck. But what we really admire about this card is the fact that it gains effects while it is using an equip spell to another Xyz monster. Those of course being that if the equipped monster battles until the end of the damage step, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects, also negate the effects of all face-up monsters they control, which of course is just absolutely insane. And also, if this equipped monster is an Xyz monster, your opponent cannot target with card effects, which I find just be absolutely insane on its own. Not only that, it also has 2500 attack, so if we're going into it off of our spell card of Armored Xyz, the monster that we go into would actually have the 2500 attack rather than the smaller attack it would have if it's your full armored Crystalzero Lancer, for example. So 1 copy of Xyz Armor Torpedo. 1 copy of Full Armored Black Ray Lancer I find to be really good as well. You can also Xyz summon him if you use a rank 3 water Xyz monster you control that has no material. So of course using your Xyz Armor Torpedo. He has some effects that can be really good for popping back row, but the main reason we run him is kind of just constantly ranking up, so we're able to go into our Xyz Armor Fortress. So if we're able to Xyz into Armor Torpedo and then detach 2 in order to get a draw, what we're able to do is rank up into Black Ray Lancer and then go straight into our Armor Fortress. Because Armor Fortress is really good, especially if it has 2 materials, because you can detach up to 2 materials from this card and then add that many Armored Xyz spells / traps from your deck to your hand. So it's a really good way of searching out them both. So I definitely recommend running the rank 3, rank 4 and rank 5 Xyz Armor monsters in the extra deck. Just for that reason alone, they're able to rank up into themselves, so we're able to go into our even bigger monsters that we're going to get into now. 1 full armored Crystalzero Lancer, and also 1 full armored Dark Knight Lancer. These are both really good boss monsters. I definitely think they're really great at closing out games. Some people mightn't like this build because this is kind of leaning towards a really heavy like OTK enabler, which some people might argue it doesn't really belong in an Umi Control deck, but I find it's just a really good complement for the deck itself, because although you can play Umi full control and just really oppress your opponent until you win, having an alternate win condition of just bringing out really big boss monsters in order to really dig into your opponent and attack their life points, I find to be a really good substitute for the Umi cards themselves. So I definitely recommend you running this small little package here. It doesn't take an awful lot of your extra deck, and also it's just 2 cards in the main, so I definitely recommend you running it. You guys won't regret it. 2 good generic Xyz we run is of course Divine Arsenal AA-ZEUS Sky Thunder and Super Starslayer TY-PHON Sky Crisis. These are both just really insane cards that we're able to easily go into. They both have really powerful effects and can close out games on their own, so I definitely recommend running 1 of each of those cards. We do get locked into Xyz monsters with a few cards in this deck, but just in case we also have some good generic Link monsters as well. I like to run 1 copy of Coral Anemone, 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. These are just good Link monsters that are able to go into and can definitely help you oppress your opponent a little bit more. If they have something that's very tricky to remove, the Nightmare cards are of course really good for that. But also Coral Anemone is really good at bringing out specific monsters from your graveyard that you might need to further your plays. So I definitely recommend running these 3 Link monsters to round off the extra deck. Rounding things off with a side now, I like to run 1 copy of Gamma Seal, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. This deck can actually search the Kaiju, that's why I don't main deck it. You can search this off of your ice barriers, so 1 is more than enough. You don't need to maximize the Kaijus that you run in this build. So 1 copy is more than enough for the side. I also like 2 copies of Nibiru. If we're going against a combo deck, Nibiru can be very crippling. And in this format, I find it to be really good. 3 copies of Ash Blossom is of course in the side right now because we're in a fire format. We don't like if our opponent can benefit from us having fire monsters in the graveyard. But if we're playing against a deck like Branded or whatever, definitely Ash Blossom needs to be sided into the main deck. But it really depends on the matchup. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Really good at removing problematic spells or trap cards. Really great if you're going against Runic or some Horus decks. Cosmic Cyclone can really take care of those decks on the spot. so I definitely recommend running them in the side. 3 copies of Evenly Matched if you want a really crippling board breaker. If we're forced to go second, Evenly Matched is of course one of the best ones there is in the game. Now we're going to round things off with 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. I think Dimensional Barrier is of course really good. It can really shut down Tenpai if played correctly, and a bunch of other decks out there. So 3 copies of it in the side deck I find to just be really good. I definitely recommend you play it. So that about does it for the build. Please let me know what you guys think. I'm really happy with the way this deck turned out, and I'm really excited to see where I'm able to take it in future. If you guys have any suggestions, please be sure to leave in the comments. Sean and I read them all, so I'd be really happy to see what you guys think of the deck. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because we have plenty more deck profiles to see, and also loads more on the way. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.